Let us bow our heads for a moment of prayer. May the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my salvation. And may the words of my mouth be words that will bring healing. And let you speak to us either through me or in spite of me, but speak to us, O God. Amen. The gospel lesson today was all about Jesus telling another wonderful story. And the story he told was all about prisons without walls. A few years ago, I watched the movie Escape from Alcatraz. Now, it is said that Alcatraz was a federal penitentiary for nearly 3 decades, and it boasted high walls, double-locked doors, machine guns in the hands of the guards, and a staff that could not be bribed. And during that time, it was said that there were about 36 escape attempts. 23 people were caught, 6 were shot and killed, 2 drowned, but 3 got away. And that is what this movie was all about. How did they get away? It's interesting that after the closure of this prison, 4,000 people per day visit this place. In the past, many people want to get out of it. Now people want to get in it. And they just go there for the kick of it, because it's very interesting. The world's worst prison, however, is not Alcatraz or the Devil's Island. For those places can only confine one body at a time. But the prison Jesus talked about in this parable is about a prison that you cannot really escape. It's a prison, not that somebody else has put us in that prison. It is a prison without walls, yet very few escape. What is this prison? The prison he spoke about is this dungeon of trauma, pain, and injustice. And the only door of that prison is the door of forgiveness. And there's only one key, and that key is in the hands of the prisoner. We owe a great deal to the fact that Peter always had a quick tongue. And here in this Matthew piece, Peter is speaking. And the topic is forgiveness. So Peter thought that he was very generous, and he possibly tried to impress Jesus by saying, well, I think if we forgive somebody 7 times his sins, well, that's impressive. And Jesus says, no. I want to tell you 70 times 7. Well, the Jews actually did not really believe in that kind of forgiveness. That was just too much for them. And so Jesus told this story that once again grabbed their minds and their hearts. He told a story about a king who got hold of his slaves and his debtors. And he got hold of this one slave who owed him a massive amount of money. Now, the power of the story is in the contrast. And Jesus is a master in telling stories. So the servant owes his master 10,000 talents. Now, a talent in those days were about equal to about maybe 300 British pounds. So this guy actually owed him 3 million British pounds, if you put it that way. That's incredible debt. In the times of Jesus, it was more than the budget of an ordinary province. From historical data, we got it that a province like Indomedia and Judea and Samaria was only about 600 talents. So it's more than the total revenue of a whole province. 10,000 talents. It's massive. A certain researcher, Kennedy, drew this vivid picture to contrast the debts. He says, suppose they were paid in sixpences or in coins. The 100 denarii that the other servant owed could fit in a pocket. But the 10,000 talent debt would take to carry an army of 8,600 carriers, 8,600 people, if each one of them carried these coins in a bag of about 30 kilograms. Then, if they stand in a row, they would form a distance of 5 miles long. You can imagine how much that is. It's incredible. So Jesus makes that contrast. This one guy owed his master 10,000 talents. There was no way that he would ever be able to pay that amount. And he set him free. It's beautiful in some of the translations that it actually says, and he set him free. And then there's the other one. So he went to his debtors. And this guy owed him £5. And he told him, I'm not going to release you from that. You will pay. And we know the rest of the story. The king found out about it, and the servant was in trouble. What is this story about? This story is about something that we time and time again try to deal with very lightly. It's the issue of pain. It's the issue of forgiveness. It's the issue of trauma. It's the issue of injustice. On the other hand, it's the issue and the importance of forgiveness. And what Jesus wants us to know here is that forgiveness touches all spheres of life. The sphere of life of you and me as an individual, our relationships, our families, our communities, our tribes, our nations. It's even intergenerational and even transgenerational issues. The area of forgiveness is equaled by the intensity of pain, trauma, and injustice. It covers something as simple as to forget somebody's birthday or your anniversary, wedding anniversary, or is something serious as infidelity, murder. It goes further. It includes injustices and trauma like war, the Holocaust, the comfort women, colonization, and much more. It suggests the prison of pain, trauma, and so much more, humiliation. And so Jesus takes this picture, or these two pictures actually. One picture is of the prison. The other picture is of pain. And then the freedom of forgiveness. And so today I would like to use this simile of the prison, and I would like to focus on the reality of the prison, the reality of forgiveness, and the reality of a key in your hand. The reality of the prison. Jesus uses these pictures so effectively. Sometimes we look at this parable and this story and we only say forgive. And we make it something easy, also an easy way out. We demand forgiveness, but what we don't see is the debt. Jesus makes a lot of the debt, and even that is in the contrast of the one huge debt and the one small debt. He acknowledges the reality of debt. You see, the image of the impossibility of the debt is masterly sketched as a contrast. And it's precisely here that we need to linger. When we talk about forgiveness, we also have to talk about hurt, trauma. And Jesus acknowledges the reality of that. He acknowledges the fact that people cannot just forgive and forget easily. No one can opt out and escape the reality of pain, injustice, and trauma, humiliation, shame, and whatever goes with that. Be it done to you or you to somebody else. This debt implicates that you and I are as guilty as we are also one on the receiving end, a victim of whatever is done wrong to us. Forgiveness here is not simplistic. It's not cheap talk, forgiveness. We are all involved. Every one of us has been hurt by somebody's words, actions. Maybe somebody in your past, your father, mother. Maybe somebody's already dead. Maybe you were bullied as a child. So much can go wrong in one's life. And this pain and this hurt is sitting in you, and sitting in your gut, it's sitting in your body, it's sitting in your spirit. And instead of choosing forgiveness or work through to the point of forgiveness, we try to bury it, and we're good at it. We try to put some layers of smiles and whatever upon it. We suppress it. And somehow it emerged. And we don't know how to deal with that. We drink this poison of unforgiveness, because when we were done injustice, we fight back, we have resentment, we have all of this anger and struggle going in, and sometimes the struggle inside of us is like a perfect storm, like a typhoon that is developing. And do you know what? Jesus acknowledges this. Never think that Jesus makes nothing of our pain and our hurt. Never imagine even that he looks over that. He looks into that. The debt is tangible. It's real. The effect thereof is real. That humiliation, that anger, that bitterness. And it is as if we are carrying it. And the weight of it is turning us down, and it has its effect on our lives. You see, forgiveness is not about condoning or just saying it's okay. You cannot be pressurized in that. You have to work through the trauma, not escaping it. Forgiveness is not an easy substitute for the pain of debt. It's costly, and therefore it's also lasting and precious. And brings me with my second point, the prison walls. You see, the prison is this place of pain. It's this place that we sometimes hide. It's this place in our lives, or this area in our lives, that we don't talk about it. But it's present. You can feel it. But what about the prison walls? And what we do is, deep inside of us, we build up this resentment. And this resentment is sometimes projected on other people. It is sometimes a self-resentment. And you see so many people in a self-destruct mode. Whatever they do, somehow it's like an imploding. And it is as if there is something going on inside that is time and time again imploding. The one relationship after the other, and everyone is in destruction. This prison wall, the prison wall of unforgiveness. At some point, this unforgiveness, this not letting free, is boxing you in. You cannot see the walls, but it's there. The prison is our pain, and the invisible walls is the unforgiveness, which is a state of emotional and mental distress. It creates that domino effect that negatively impacts every part of our lives. Unforgiveness creates grudges. It creates an emotional storm of distress in which feelings of stress, anxiety, depression, insecurity, and fear surface. And those feelings, we project that on everybody around us. And we cannot understand ourselves. We don't want to be like that. Unforgiveness takes up a lot of mental space. We think of it. It takes up the space inside, and it is the storm inside, and there's no peace. This unforgiveness can be against ourselves. It might be against God. It might be against someone, whoever that is. You know the pain. In a nation, you find the same kind of prison walls, the invisible prison walls, when a nation cannot deal with its past. We call that transgenerational trauma. And many nations suffer from that. Unforgiveness comes to affect your judgment and perspective, because you start to view the world and yourself through this lens of hurt. You close up. You cannot love. You cannot give. And it's suffocating. It affects our character and our integrity, and it spreads like a cancer. And as I said, it has this mirror effect that it bounces back and forth and out. And now the key is in your hands. And the door is forgiveness. And there's a key in your hand. And it's a difficult thing to turn that key. But it's the most liberating thing. When we deal with pain, when we deal with suffering, when we deal with injustice, yes, Jesus acknowledges that. And He's working through this pain with us. He's working through the struggle. He's working through all of that. But in the end, He says, I give you a key. And this key is forgiveness. And forgiveness is costly. Oscar Wilde said, "Always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much." Nelson Mandela, he was in prison 27 years, and he said the following. He said his greatest battle was not to be in prison for 27 years. His greatest battle was not to hold a grudge against those who put him there. He also said, resentment is like drinking poison and hope it will kill your enemies. Forgiveness is about you. It's about setting you free as well. Not only those who hurt you. So my question this afternoon, are you suffering in your own little prison? Your family? Are you suffering from abuse? Are you suffering from the images that is in your head? If you close your eyes, you see and you hear those voices. Remember, forgiving is not forgetting. It's remembering without anger. It frees up your power, heals your body, your mind, and your spirit. Forgiveness opens up a pathway to a new place of peace where you can persist despite what has happened to you. It's not an act of weakness. It's an act of strength. It sets you free. So, in conclusion, begin where you are, exactly where you sit now, right there. Let the Holy Spirit open your eyes. Are you free? Or are you trapped in this prison cell without walls? Who are the people whose voices you hear bouncing against the prison walls? A teacher who humiliated you? A drunk father? Mother? Cheating partner? Absent people? Is it the voice of God who took away somebody you loved? Who you blame for your life? It's painful. It's unpleasant. Until you feel something in your hand. It's a key. It's a key that drips with blood. The blood of Him who paid the ultimate price to forgive you. Your sin, my sin. Turn it. Amen.